Welcome to the Happy Black Woman Podcast, where we're on a mission to empower women to transform their lives through personal development and entrepreneurship. We bring you all the information, inspiration, and motivation you need to create a life of happiness, success, and freedom. Now, please welcome your host, the happy Black woman herself, Rosetta Thurman.
Hello, ladies, and welcome back to the Happy Black Woman Podcast. This is Rosetta, and I am so excited to bring to you a brand new guest to the show, Miss Amber Berry, and she is the founder of Feel Good Finances. She's actually only the second guest I've had on the show to talk about the importance of managing your personal finances and just your relationship to and with money in general. So I'm so excited to bring you Miss Amber. Thanks for being on the show, lady.
Hey, Rosetta. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And you know what's really cool? I want you to tell everybody where you are in a moment, but I always like to share with you guys how I know my guests. And I met Amber through our Happy Black Woman Tribe, of course, came to one of our live events, took my course, Launch Your Business, and joined our Happy Black Woman Mastermind program. So I love to feature businesses that were started out of a passion, out of an expertise, and she is just one example of that, along with many of the other ladies that you've heard. But what's so cool is that right now, Amber is just walking her talk. She is doing this interview from a very big conference in San Diego. You want to tell everybody where you're at, Amber?
Sure. I'm at the Sheraton in San Diego by the San Diego Bay for FinCon. It's like the biggest financial blogger conference of them all. But there's lots of bloggers, CPAs, CFPs, pretty much anybody who loves personal finances here. So I think there's 1,200 people here for this weekend. So it's a big crowd, but it's been really great so far.
Yes, that is so cool to be in that environment as you are immersing yourself in personal finance and all that good information that you can bring back to your clients, to your tribe, to your readers. So I just love that it's a great example of doing what you love, being location independent, being able to continue to learn and grow and take that back to your people. So very cool to have you with us from FinCon, live from FinCon. And So I know a lot about your work, Amber, of course, because we've worked together, but I just want you to give everybody else an idea of your mission and just telling us a little bit about the work that you do.
Sure. So I started Feel Good Finances to serve a bit of an unmet need in the personal finance community. A lot of people really struggle with the emotional part of personal finance and managing their mindset. That's usually what holds people back from meeting their goals and doing what they know they should be doing to be where they want to be financially. And so my mission is to help women change their mindsets around money so that they can manage their money better. And usually that ends up going into things like dealing with fear, guilt, and shame. So, that's what I do.
Whenever people talk about personal finance, I never think about those three things: fear, guilt, and shame. So can you talk a little bit more to that piece? When people talk about money, is it the debt part that brings up the fear, the guilt, and the shame? Is it spending? Like, what is it about money and finances that brings up those negative emotions in people?
Yeah, a lot of things. From what I feel in my research, a lot of things are fear-based, and money actually in your mind is processed the same way as food. So when you get money or when you get food, you get that same euphoric experience. And when you feel like you're running out of money, you feel like you get that same feeling like you're running out of food, like you're about to die and you're starving. So you get pushed into survival mode. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. And so when they start running out of money, they start doing these things that may not make sense to them, but they can't help themselves. And so unless you're aware that you're acting you're not even making decisions, your mind is just reacting. You find people who overspend or they find themselves in debt. Fear can actually come out a lot of interesting ways when it comes to how people manage their finances. And then once people are out of their crisis mode and they realize what they've done, which sometimes is like massive amounts of debt, or they've just spent way more than they could have afforded to spend. They end up feeling really guilty and ashamed about it, and they don't want to tell anyone. And there's not as many resources available for people like that who really need to talk to someone about their financial problems, not just like the dollars and cents, but the behavioral part of it. So, yeah, it's pretty, it can get kind of messy, but it's definitely something that people can work through. It's just the first part is becoming aware that it's something you're struggling with. And a lot of these issues that come up have nothing to do with money. They usually come from childhood experiences that in your childhood mind, it made sense, but you carried it all the way through to adulthood and it doesn't serve you anymore, but you're still behaving based on those beliefs that you developed as you were a child. So.
Yes, definitely. I think when I hear about your work, Amber, I think it bridges the two worlds of personal finance and also money mindset as well. Your work is somewhere in the middle from people that are like, yeah, I know I need to save. I know I need to do this. I need to do that. And then there's reasons why they're not, or reasons why it's not happening the way they want it to happen, or they keep having setbacks. So I love that you deal, the way you said it, you said you deal with the emotional part of personal finance. And it's true that I don't see a lot of that. I couldn't name one person besides you who does this in this industry. So I would love to hear a little bit, Amber, about how you even got into this. Like, what made you go down this road and actually not just be interested in it, but turn it into a business where you can help other people on this path?
I think the first time it became an issue for me was when I was in college. College life is hard enough as it is without having to deal with money stuff, but there was a lot going on. And I had this really, really bad like emotional breakdown when I was having some health issues and I was going to have to take like a whole quarter off of school or maybe even not come back until I could get it together, which meant that I wasn't going to be able to work anymore because the work I was doing, you could only do if you're an enrolled student. And I totally panicked. And I was like, if I can't make money and if I can't support myself like I always have, then I'm worthless. Like I have no value as a person. And I didn't tell anyone about it because I thought maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm the only one. But I ended up being able to keep my job. And so I was like, okay, we made it for now, right? Then I graduated college and the same thing happened again. Like there was some complications with my job and I wasn't able to work for a while. And those same emotions came back up that like my value as a person is based on my ability to make money and how much money I have. And I thought I was the only one until I started getting into financial podcasts and started interacting on Facebook and other websites. And I found there's a lot of people who share these feelings, but they don't know how to process them and they don't know what their resources are. And so I was like, oh, I had no idea that there were so many people who were struggling with this. And then coincidentally, that's when I met you. I found your podcast while I was at work because I'd run through all my personal finance ones. And I was like, oh, happy Black woman. How awesome. And then I found the Launch Your Business and everything wrapped up into there. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds like from your experiences, you got interested in this topic. You kind of like threw yourself into it. And I think that you also did some training related to it as well. How did that come about?
So I enjoy teaching. I'm a person who has lots of jobs, but one of my jobs is teaching people how to drive buses. And I really enjoy that process. I enjoy the one-on-one and working with people and helping them grow and get to their best abilities so that they can pass their test. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I would like to teach personal finance. And so I found a financial education training program that I took, and I really enjoyed it. But the one thing that it didn't go into enough depth was the part about how we get to these money beliefs we have. How do we work through these stories? Because they talk about how you can teach the actual concepts and how you have to be very sensitive to the people's, cultural backgrounds and gender stereotypes and all these kinds of things. But we don't talk about like how to actually go about it and how to understand that more. And then I found another person who her specialty is money psychology. And so I've been in her program now for a couple of months and it has been amazing and very eye-opening. And I'm so glad I found her because there's so many things the world needs to know about how to get their lives together. So I'm glad that I found it and I can share the good word.
Wonderful. So I just love that your process has been like following what you're passionate about, not only transforming yourself, but looking out there for other resources that you can use to help other people transform. And now it's become this business, Feel Good Finances. And now we know the story of how it all came about. So for people who are, women who are listening and, money is a big issue in our Happy Black Woman tribe, the accumulating of money, the spending of money, and people just feeling really down because they don't have enough money to do what they want to do in order to live their dream life. And so I know that a lot of your work centers around mindset, the mindset around money. So what are kind of 3 steps or 3 tips you can give our ladies who are listening today? They're taking notes, they want to transform in this area. What are 3 tips you can give us for how to start the process of transforming our mindset around money?
Whew, so many things to choose from. I think my favorite 3, let's see, the first one would be gratitude. Expressing gratitude and really focusing on what you have, even if it doesn't seem like much. Like, let's say you're on the freeway and your car doesn't have air conditioning like mine doesn't, and you're stuck in traffic, but then expressing gratitude that you do have a car that can get you from point A to point B. You don't have to walk in the heat, at least. Just little things like that really start to open your eyes to everything that you do have. You may not have everything you want yet, but you can get there. The second thing is just being aware that the process of changing your mindset around money and also doing a financial overhaul, it takes a lot of work. It's going to be difficult, but it doesn't mean it's not worth it and that it's not possible for you. So when those bumpy points come around, just expect it and do your best to extract the lessons from it so that you can move forward. That's usually what happens is like people have a plan. Let's say they're paying off debt and something happens to blow their budget and then they're just like, forget it. I'm just not going to do it at all. When really it's okay to feel those feelings, but as long as you remember, like, okay, so this thing blew my budget once, it won't happen anymore now that I'm aware. So just taking as much information as you can from all of your learning experiences. And the third thing would be, you don't have to have all the answers. So reach out for help. There's lots of people out there. There's coaches, there's financial advisors, there's wealth managers, there's teachers. There's so many people out there who really want to help you get to where you want to go. And I can tell you after being around these 1,000 people that I'm with at this conference that everyone really wants to help you succeed. Everyone wants everyone to have everything they want and live a great life, because believe it or not, there is enough for everyone. No matter what you've been told or what you believe, there is enough for everyone. So yeah, those would be my top.
Those are great. I really love the one about gratitude because what happens a lot, especially with women, especially with Black women, is we tend to compare ourselves with other people. I guess my grandmother used to call it trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? Whenever we would want something that was like new clothes, and she'd be like, stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. You don't need to compare yourself to your classmates or whatever. The gratitude, I think it helps us to understand what we have and appreciate what we have versus, comparing what we have with other people. And there's always going to be somebody that has more than us or perceive that someone has more than us. And you start to feel bad about where you are in life. So I love that one about the gratitude. Amber, I know that you come across a lot of people with your blog and through all the conversations you have with your tribe, people who say they're just not good with money. They feel like maybe they'll never be. What do you say to that person who's listening and she's like, okay, I've heard some of this stuff before. I know I'm supposed to do it. I'm just not wired for that. I don't think that I'll ever have my financial house in order. What do you say to that person to encourage them?
Yeah, that's a really common thing. You're really right about that. And what people have to understand is when it comes to finance, especially like this behavioral part of it, nobody is taught this stuff. So unless you're taught it or you find someone who can walk you through it, it's going to be foreign territory. It's going to be kind of confusing to navigate on your own. So you don't have to be naturally good at it. Just because you haven't done it before or you haven't succeeded before doesn't mean that you won't ever succeed. Maybe you just need to try something different and try something that works for you. And to do that, the most important thing is to surround yourself with people who get you and who are going to support you in making the changes you want to make. Because it's really hard when you're doing something totally different from what your family does, because they're going to try to pull you back in because they don't understand what you're doing. And so going out to find people who are going to support you in your journey and will take the time to help you learn the things you need to learn. Everyone can do it. You just have to find the right people.
Yeah, that piece I know is really important and really difficult for a lot of women who are wanting to focus on this as a goal. What
Mhm.
tips would you give for that? Like, how do you find people who are actively working on this piece? Like, your girlfriend might say she is trying to save money, but she is the same one trying to get you to splurge on, boots at the mall. So, how would someone go about finding a community of people who are actively working to transform their finances?
For me, where it started was through media, like podcasts and messing around on Twitter and Facebook. And then I started to find people whose philosophies really resonated with me and felt good to me. And then I would find them. And then a lot of the people whose books you read and their podcasts you listen to, they do have Facebook groups that you can interact with them. And all the people who follow that kind of philosophy they have, like some people are really about female empowerment. Some people are all about getting rid of debt. So for me, it was starting with books and podcasts and then trickling down from there, like going to figure out, okay, what can I learn about this author and where can I find more about them? Like, where are they? One thing we're working on this weekend is like, how do we make ourselves more accessible to the general public? Even like starting at the library, they have lots of great books there that you can start with, but don't be afraid to venture out into the Facebook groups. Like you can even you don't have to post, you don't have to comment at first. You can just kind of feel it out. But I'd recommend a site like that, like Facebook or maybe even Reddit for some people because it's more anonymous.
Yeah. Speaking of books, Amber, I always like to pick the brains of my guests and ask them what are their favorite books. Like, do you have a favorite personal finance book or any book really about financial or personal transformation that you could recommend to the ladies who are looking to get started on their journey?
Yeah, for personal finance, my favorite book lately has been Money Magic. It's by Deborah Price. She's actually my mentor. And when I read her book, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to find this woman, which is how I ended up in her program. But it really walks you through like those behavioral parts. And you can kind of start to get a glimpse of all of these things that are going on in the background you had no idea were going on with you and how you can start to reroute yourself. But in terms of personal development, more of that side of the finance stuff, my favorite is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. It's really good for people who struggle with shame and guilt around the things that they've done or trying to fit in with people. There's a lot of really great advice in that one as well.
Yeah, I love Brene Brown. I haven't read her books yet. I have one that I need to crack open, but just watching her videos and her interview with Oprah, or many interviews with Oprah, really started to open my eyes about what shame is all about. And what's always surprising to me, it was surprising for me to realize is that a lot of the behavior that we have and decisions that we make are actually fueled by a fear of, not just a fear of failure, but a fear of success. And so I wonder if you've come across that in your work. Do people, in particular women, do you feel like sometimes we deliberately and unconsciously self-sabotage around money?
Yeah, I think it's definitely natural because you're right. A lot of it is part of fear of success, which is further like, if I'm successful, will people still treat me the same? And so it really goes deeper to like a fear of being disconnected from the people you're the closest to and the people you love and you spend your most time with. And so when you're going on these adventures of like, okay, I really want to own my own home, but if no one in your family has owned a home before, and that would be a really big deal for you and it might set you apart from them, it can make you nervous that like, maybe if I do this, I may not be as close to these people. Maybe they won't want me anymore. All kinds of scary thoughts like that. And then they'll take a step back and be like, never mind, I changed my mind. I'd rather the connection is so important just as a human, especially for women. We're very, we feel everything very deeply. So yeah, I think self-sabotage around money it's not something we're often aware of, but it definitely makes sense why people do it.
I mean, just being aware of that is so huge for people because a lot of when we have conversations about success within our Happy Black Woman tribe, a lot of people are like, well, I want this, but for some reason I haven't been able to achieve it. And, what you just said there, I think is a light bulb moment for a lot of ladies listening, like, wow, well, that's why I haven't done this, or even ask for a raise at my job, because then it sets them apart from all the people that are working there. There's this unconscious behavior that's happening with us around money and success and being embarrassed almost about making money. Like, I've been on my millionaire journey, and one of the things I had to deal with was, would I even tell anyone? Like, is this something that I would want people to know? And it's like, well, why not? It's an accomplishment. It's a huge difference between a Black woman and a white man. A white man will shout from the rooftops, even if he's half a millionaire, right? Like not even there yet. He's like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I've always known it. I'm going to do it. Like, there's so much privilege and confidence within that group of people. And then when we look at ourselves, it's like, well, it wasn't all me. It wasn't my doing. Like, you know, it happened by accident, when really it's our own hard work that created it. So there's this even embarrassment about it. So you talk about the embarrassment about making money mistakes, but you know, is there also embarrassment about success, our money success?
Oh, yeah. Part of that is, if you are a millionaire or half a millionaire, 3/4 of a millionaire, whenever you proclaim something like that, you're telling people that you're definitely worth that amount. And for people who doubt their self-worth, they're worried that someone's going to come by and be like, girl, you ain't worth $500,000, and it's going to crush their world. So they would rather not deal with that potential of someone snatching that out from under them, even though, of course, they're worth it. You've earned it. You deserve it. But if it's something new for you and it's something you've struggled with a long time, when it comes to presenting yourself that way, you may struggle a lot with that.
Yes, definitely. So much to unpack. We're just like touching the surface of all this. Like, there's so much value in having the conversations. I know that being in these spaces where you can talk about what's going on with you can give you a lot of insight. So Amber, I'm so glad that you were able to come on the show and talk with us. I wanted to ask you, you know, since you've been on this journey of building your business, what are some things that help you stay focused and productive on this journey?
Well, two things. First is, I am a big fan of turning off notifications for everything. So like, even though I have like all those apps on my phone for location independent purposes, like I have Skype, I have the Facebook app, I have Twitter, I have all these things, I don't have notifications on for like anything except texts and phone calls. And most of the time my phone is on Do Not Disturb. So it really, because it's so easy. As soon as you hear the phone vibrate, you're like, somebody wants to talk to me now. So I guess I should stop everything I'm doing and text them back when it's like I really have something to get done. And so I really enjoy forcing myself to just unplug for a bit and really concentrate on what I'm doing. And then also when I make to-do lists, they tend to be pretty long. And so I go through this 3D thing. I learned it from this guy named Paul Miners. He's all about productivity. And so if you get these really long lists, you have 3Ds you have to choose from. So either 1, you're going to do the things. 2, of the things that you want to do, can it be delayed? Can it be delayed till tomorrow or next week? Or do you even need to do it? Which is the third thing, you can delegate it to someone else. So it's like, of all these things, I find the top things that I absolutely must do. Most of the things I write down, they can be delayed or they have no specific due date. So I just push them off to when I have time. And then other things like grocery shopping, which sometimes my dad will come visit and I'll ask him to go grocery shopping. Or even, I know for you, like taking time to house clean is not a priority. So you get someone to take care of that for you, save yourself some time. So yeah, figuring out what you absolutely have to do right now, and everything else, just let it slide to the side or ask someone else to support you in your journey so you can focus on what's really important.
Yes, definitely. I love that everyone who's come on the show and kind of talked about the journey of turning your passion into a business, and that being focused and all that is really important. But we all have different ways that we do it. And, you know, getting help is a big, big thing. And it's like, the more we can enlist the support of other people, the more successful we can be. So Amber, I would love for you to share, you know, as we bring our interview to a close, what is number one piece of advice that you would give to the woman listening who wants to start a business from her passion and what she feels is her calling or her purpose? Just like you've done, you turned something you were interested in, something that helped you, and now you get to help other people do it. And that took a process for you to do all those things. So knowing what you know now, what would you tell that woman who's just starting out?
I would say the most important thing is to seek mentorship or a supporter group of some kind, so that, because navigating the waters of business is going to challenge you. It's going to mess with your mind because you're going to be confused, like trying to learn all this technology stuff and all your systems and everything. But also, like, the emotional part of stuff is going to come up because you're going to be trying to figure out what's a good price for your services. You want to know, you're going to need feedback from other people to see if things make sense. You're going to have a lot of questions, and doing it on your own, while I know, especially with Black women, we find that to be very noble. Ain't nobody got time for that. So just go get a mentor, find a mastermind group. There's lots of them for all kinds of industry. You can be in a more general one when you're just starting out and you're kind of feeling out the waters before you know specifically what you want to do. Or you can go really, really niche down so that you can get specific mentorship. But either way, I'd recommend mentorship in any capacity if you're thinking about starting a business.
Yeah, definitely. I second that. There's so much. I always say you don't know what you don't know. So there's so much that we don't even have awareness of until somebody says something like, oh, I didn't know I needed to do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So smart that you did that early on, because now, I mean, there's so many things happening, wonderful things happening in your business. So tell people how they can stay in touch with you. I mean, I know that we've just scratched the surface of the conversation that's so important for our listeners to have with themselves, with each other, and within our tribe. So how can we continue the conversation with you? How can ladies get in touch with you, Amber?
Sure. I'm most active on Facebook. It's Feel Good Finances on there. But also, you can be a part of my community by going to feelgoodfinances.com/happyblackwoman. And there you can be a part of my free 7-day money mindset email course. And you can also get access to my resource library and other tools that I have for you there. And I love to interact with my tribe. It can be a Facebook group where you can interact with me there too. So yeah, come join the fun. We have lots of fun in my tribe.
Awesome. Very cool to give us access to your new 7-day course on money mindset. And the URL is feelgoodfinances.com/happyblackwoman. I love it. And we'll also post all the links and resources that Amber mentioned on our show notes. So thank you for being on the show, Amber. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thanks for having me, Rosette. I had a great time.
Cool. Well, ladies, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you go back and listen to our previous episodes. They are all amazing, including this one. And so if you have not gone back and listened to the other podcast interviews with amazing women, go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com. That's where you will be able to access previous episodes and also get notified when we publish new ones. All right, ladies, until next time, have a beautiful day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Happy Black Woman podcast. If you want all the show's notes from today's episode, go to happyblackwomanpodcast.com. Plus, we'll send you a copy of Rosetta's free life mapping workbook. We look forward to empowering you next time. And until then, do something this week that makes you happy.